Hello YouTube, this is Froogle and welcome back to not part 2 of the first impressions. This is not part 2. This is really a second impressions. The reason being, I actually recorded parts 1 and part 2 all in one go. That's how I do stuff. I record all in one take and then edit out any glaring faux pas as much as I can. You guys seem to be pretty adept at catching them all the same. And then I split the videos down. So one take and I split the videos down into manageable chunks to put them on YouTube. However, today, based on the feedback on the first part of this video and in discussions with the developers behind this aircraft, this of course being the A2A Simulations accu-sim C182 Skylane, I've found out a bunch more stuff and I want to show you that bunch more stuff because it really is pretty darn cool. First of all, we're going to look at sound. So, I'm going to open a window here. So you get a little bit more noise from the outside, and what we're going to do is something you should never probably do. The brakes are on. We're going to go mixture rich, ready for takeoff. I'm going to put full power in and then jam it off. Listen. You hear that? That whooshing of air and the rumbling of the engine. Not a good idea to do this in a real plane. You hear that as it comes off the power there. Very, very cool. Lots of little touches like that. You're going to see another one when we take off, in that you have sound being reflected off the ground somewhat. So the engine sounds will drop away. I'm not going to plug the headphones in. The engine sounds will actually drop away as we start to climb out. So, with that said, flaps are not set for takeoff. We'll set them for takeoff now. Recenter my view, turn track IR back on. Here we go. So let's go and take off as we did yesterday. Listen to the sound closely as we actually take off. So coming up on full power now. Hear how loud it is right now, reverberating through the cockpit. So we're going to lift the nose. Listen to the sound volumes. Did you hear that little shift? That little shift in volume is the ground falling away and the reflection of the sound off the ground having less of an impact on you. Touches like that, I was talking about attention to detail yesterday, touches like that are attention to detail bar none. Alright, I also had Scott from A2A Simulations comment that I didn't climb at 23 inches manifold pressure. Now I am. So let's see how we do. We'll set a 75 knot climb here. Now if you watch my previous little interim fix video, we do have the trim wheel fixed now. It does actually work properly. You're welcome. Just trying to trim this nose down. There we are. And then we'll hold 75 knots and watch our rate of climb. So 23 inches manifold pressure. The manifold pressure will drop as we climb. So we'll need to start increasing power. I pulled back the power levers to maintain 23 inches. As we climb, that power output there will drop and we'll need to get back on the throttles. But you can already see 70 knots here, doing almost 1,000 feet per minute rate of climb. For a little Cessna, that's not bad. I'm losing speed, need to trim it down a bit. I love that the trim now works. Okay, and I still haven't plugged the headphones in. There's a reason for that. More sound and attention to detail. What I'm going to do is I'm going to load up the prop. So, I'm going to level this up at 2,000 feet, which is actually 1,500 feet because the airport here in Palm Springs is at 1,500. So, applying forward pressure. There. Now trimming it. Bringing back the power now to about 20 inches manifold pressure. Bring the props back now as well. So I got my power set where I want it to be. Just need to trim the aircraft and hold straight and level as much as we possibly can. In the real aircraft, you trim an aircraft by, well, you're constantly exerting force on the yoke, pulling back or pushing forward, and then you trim it until the amount of force that you're applying is lessened. It's harder to do in a sim, but you kind of get used to it over time. There. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to load up the prop. We're going to do a very, very hard yaw to the left, you will hear the prop load up. It has a noticeable sound. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to put full left rudder in very quickly. The aircraft is going to yaw violently to the left. We'll probably drop the nose, but listen to the sound, in particular the whooshing from that propeller. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. You hear that? Attention to detail. Let's do it again to the right. Not a pleasant maneuver if you're in the real aircraft. Let's get this aircraft stable once again. Okay, here we go. Gonna load it up to the right. Shh, very cool sound. So that, I didn't even know about that yesterday. Again, just cool examples of the attention to detail that A2A have put into this aircraft, as they always do in all their aircraft, but it's so neat to discover these little things. So let's turn around, go back towards the airport. There is a dusty desert patch just behind the airport that we're going to head to, and we're going to do stalls and spins and stuff there. Now the aircraft, you're not supposed to spin it. It is big, it is heavy, you are not technically supposed to spin it. I do like to spin A2A aircraft though, because they do such an astounding job on modeling the aerodynamics on their planes. So why the heck not? Let's spin it. But you are going to see, the reason you're not supposed to spin it is it's a very, very violent spin. Whoops. Going to bring the props up now to 24. Props first, increasing the power. Power up to 23 inches manifold pressure once again. We'll continue our climb. A little bit too high on the manifold pressure, bringing it back. Continue our climb up to about 5,000 feet. And we'll try all this stuff out. Incidentally, last night's video, part 2 of last night's video, I might actually put it in here while we're climbing so you can watch it. This is a tricky plane to fly, and I said, I think I said before I took off in part 1 that, or as I was taking off, trim is king. You need to trim this aircraft a lot. It needs to be trimmed in all phases of flight, especially in the approach. If you don't have it trimmed in approach, you'll have all sorts of problems, and I did. I actually nearly wrecked the aircraft, and I was going to put up part 2 with that almost wreck in, and then thought better of it. So that will be redone in this video. Maybe we'll wreck, maybe we'll be bumpy, maybe not. I hope not. Now incidentally, another thing that was pointed out to me in the comments on part 1, you can change the instrument stack here as well. I am not sure where that is. Let's have a look here. But you can basically put an HSI in there. What is default? Hello, 1 HSI. Isn't that crazy? We'll leave that up. So that is a fully simulated KI-525 Alpha HSI. Another very cool option. Thank you to the chap that pointed it out. I think it was pointed out to me actually on Twitter, so thanks to that guy. So many options on this aircraft. I'm so glad I decided to redo part 2, and you don't miss out on all that good stuff. Looking at my power now, it is dropping. Let me put my view down here a bit. Whoops, wrong one. You can see we're under 23 inches, so we'll gently increase the power. Bring that back up to 23 inches. There are full performance tables and charts with this as well. You're supposed to refer to those, particularly in a long cruise. We're not going to be doing too much of that today because it's a very short hop just around Palm Springs just to try stuff out. But when you are planning your round-the-world jaunts in this, something I've been thinking about doing as well actually, I've been thinking about doing a long-haul series of flights in an A2A aircraft. Now I was going to take the Cherokee from my home just outside Orlando all the way over to Pilot Edge airspace in California. I think I might do it with this because this is more suitable for a lot of the Pilot Edge stuff, especially the IFR stuff. Now I was thinking of a comparison yesterday between this and the 172 or even the Cherokee. The 172s and the Cherokees, they are Ford Fiestas, Ford Focuses, nice vehicles, they get the job done. This is like a Mercedes. You know, it's not massively out of the price range of a lot of people, really, but there's just a build quality to it and a certain amount of power to it and refinement to it that you don't get in the 172, that you don't get in the Cherokee or the 152, which is one of the things that makes this so appealing. Plus it just feels solid, really, really solid. Not heavy, as I was saying yesterday, it feels solid. Alright, so there we are. I'm going to bring the power off now and we're going to go nose up and stall. The stall is very Cessna. So we're coming up, we'll hold it about there, let the speed bleed off. It's very Cessna in that the nose will come down, and then as it comes down, one of the wings will go over, and we'll need to correct it. Here comes the stall warning, The stall warning gets more severe as the stall really gets worse. And down we go. See the right wing dipped? No great shakes there. Let's bring our power back up. Climb back up to 5,000 feet here. Now, as I said, the real 182, you are not supposed to spin it. But this is a sim. We can do stuff in sims that you can't do in the real world. So we're going to spin this. And the reason why is the aerodynamics modeling that A2A do on all their aircraft. It is amazing. So near full power. Nose up quite steeply. As the stall comes on, we will keep pulling back. We will apply right rudder. So I'm pulling back now, pulling back a lot harder now. Right rudder has gone in there. There we go. You need to get out of this quickly. The aircraft will overspeed, you will overstretch the airframe. You could die in the real world. There, we kept the speed out of the yellow, we're good. Spinning a 182, how amazing is that? That's pretty crazy. Very, very impressive. We'll start turning around. Get some power back in. We'll go full RPM on the props now. And start settling down towards 60 knots. We want to hold this altitude a little bit longer. We are too low currently. So trimming those up now. Watching my speed. Gone a little bit too far. Let's turn, try and coordinate it. Try to hold our altitude. Now as we get closer to the runway, it's going to be harder to see it because we're so nose high in order to maintain our speed. We don't want to go nose down, that would drop us out of the sky, so we will feed in more flaps. That will cause the nose to balloon up. There's the flaps, which means that we can force the nose down and not greatly increase our rate of descent. Now we can see the runway. Now wish me luck, as I said, and as you saw on the clip, last night's attempt at this was not very pleasant. We do need to be descending a bit more. Getting a little high. So backing off the power a touch. Adjusting my seat a little so I'm better positioned, I think, to control this aircraft. 60 knots. Let's go for that next stage of laps. Need to bring in some power now to compensate for the drag, but we can point our nose downwards quite a lot. Now trimming it. I've got quite a lot of forward pressure on the yoke, so trimming it until I can release that pressure. Do need to be descending a little bit quicker here. We've got all white lights, which means we're too high. Picking up some speed, so backing off the power. Getting back on the glide path now. You can see one red light just came on. Now trimming nose up, which is good. Now we're good. Neither pulling or pushing the yoke at this point, just turning it, just trying to keep us lined up. Easing off on the power, improving our rate of descent a little. Not good. Let's come back on the power and slow that rate of descent. Now this close, the VASI lights are not very accurate in FSX, so I'm not really paying attention to them right now. I'm more concerned with how the runway looks. Really coming off the power now, putting in a little bit of trim so I don't have to pull back so hard. Speed is a little low, but now is a good time for it to be low, so letting the speed bleed off at this point. And a much better landing. A bit of a bounce. I'm still getting used to it. It's still somewhat first impressions. And we're good to go. So just let the aircraft slow down naturally. We don't need to stand on the brakes at this point. There's our exit. So pull the flaps up. We can start to lean the engine for ground operations now. And we will turn off to the right and I'll run up the replay and you can see what that landing looked like. It was a bit of a bounce. It was nothing near as horrendous as last night. So I'm happy to go with that. Alright, so right rudder, little right brake. Bit power. Don't really want to coast to a halt. Cross the line and stop. So with all that done, now because my replay system will screw up in terms of how the aircraft is configured, I'm going to go flaps down again before firing up the replay. Let's disable track IR and we'll take a look. So FS recorder, instant replay. That's the replay add-on I use, by the way, is FS recorder. We'll replay the last 180 seconds and see how we did. There we are, a little bit too high at this point, but that's fine. Let's pop outside and take a look. What a beautiful aircraft this is. And, you know, there's so much to be impressed by on this. The level of detail is amazing in everything, from graphics to sound to aero modeling, everything. That's one thing. The aerodynamics modeling, really, on this aircraft, I feel makes FSX a different sim. It feels a lot more like X-Plane. I'm not unfamiliar with bouncing an aircraft on touchdown in X-Plane, but I actually quite rarely do that in FSX. So that's kind of cool. The aircraft feels more alive as well. One of the things I always say about X-Plane is on the descent, the aircraft feels a lot more alive. You can feel it moving through the air. You have to respond to how the air is interacting with your aircraft. I'm getting that out of this aircraft, which I've never had with any other aircraft in FSX. You can see there, I didn't adjust my camera up or down. You saw the aircraft just, oh, and again, moving, shifting, climbing, falling, rolling, pitching in response to the environment around it. Now at that point, it was a good landing. I should have been patient. I wasn't patient. That was my mistake. And so we had a tiny little bounce. Not a big deal. Significantly better than last night. There's some other stuff I want to show you before I end this video. I'm going to jump into one of the passenger seats in the back. So here I am in a passenger seat. Nothing amazing here, but again, it's all about detail. Look at these dots here on the window. They're ceiling points on the window. And as we start to move our view, can you see that haze here? Can you see that? The windows are dirty. There's little bits of dirt on these windows. It's not a pristine, immaculate, brand new aircraft. Same if I go to the right-hand seat here. So again, looking at this view, it's like, okay, yeah, it's just an outside view. Well, no. If I move this to actually harder to spot. Oh, there was a little bit there. You can see there's something around here. Whoops. Ah, there. It is. You can see it there. There's a patch of dirt there. Such amazing, tiny little elements. You're actually looking through a pane of glass. Not a 3D view that's been tinted by some piece of code somewhere. That's a simulated pane of glass. Overall, I think you know my overall impressions, don't you? Do I really need to go through them? My overall impressions, this is rapidly becoming my favourite single-engine GA aircraft in FSX. There's nothing that can touch this. There really isn't. It's heavier, it's more solid, it's more refined than a 172. It's faster, it can carry more. It does everything. It'll do IFR, it'll do cross-country day trips, to go sightseeing. It's a bush plane, it's a people transporting plane, it could be a cargo plane. This is the do everything, go everywhere, off-road awesome Mercedes of the air. It's incredible and I love it. If you are interested and have the means and want to get a superlative, high-definition, highly accurate aircraft in FSX or prepared, head on over to A2A simulations.com and they will hook you up. It's not cheap. It's not cheap compared to, say, a Coronado or something like that, but I really do believe you're getting your money's worth. I really, really, truly do. Before we get out of here, let me go and look at the maintenance hangar, because what's an A2A aircraft if you're not checking maintenance every 5 minutes? Beautiful shape. Beautiful shape. I'm awesome. Let's check the engine. And let's quickly do a compression test, which you shouldn't do with the engine running, but you get the idea. Yeah, I'm awesome. I broke nothing. My plane is good to go. As always, my name is Froogle. Thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.